Okay, so we have a public service announcement from who's about to abandon me, I think. All right, so now we're going to be looking at 806. And it's about phone numbers. Now, if you already are paranoid about numbers, you may want to pause and review all the numbers from, well, 1 to 10. Probably up to 100, because we're going to be dealing with pairs. As we start getting into longer and longer numbers, pairs become the base um, unit that we're going to deal with, because it's easier. It's hard. I don't know what you're doing. You're not communicating ideas to me. Are you going to whine? Is that what you want? Here. I can wrap you up in the. Anyway, you're covering up my pinback shirt. No one's going to know about the band. All right. Do what they want. Anyway, phone numbers. When we talked about letters and finger spelling, the big thing I pushed for is, once you've gotten the letters down, now, will you stop? Now start going into pairs of letters, trios of letters, chunks. Syllables, ultimately, is the best way of doing it. So if you look at prefixes, suffixes, and the root words, that's a really good way of doing it. Any word that's compound, that's long, you're probably going to have to finger spell. So that's a good starting place to get away from the idea that it's just letter, 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 letter. It's the same way we learn to read, right? You learn the individual letters and what sounds they produce, and then you start to learn them in combination, and you start to pronounce larger and larger words and larger groups of syllables. And eventually, some people get to the point where the ghost has just come into my room, where you can do entire words. And some people even get to the point where they can read an entire page of a book as a speed reader at one time. Boom, glance it, get the whole thing. I am amazed at the people who can do that. I think it tends to be people who have photographic memory. Didactic? I don't think it's didactic. I forget what it's called. Anyway, so with letters, we do groups, we do syllables, small chunks. With numbers, it gets a little bit more simple and more complicated. We're going to do simple because it's based on pairs. We won't do 3 numbers at a time. We won't do 4 numbers at a time. It's either single or pairs. But then we will also add in the 1,000, 100, million, those into the combinations. And if you think about, as we read off long numbers or large numbers, that we put in hundreds, thousands into the middle of it. So that helps break it up. But it will always be pairs, either individuals or pairs. It will not get longer than that. So we're going to be looking at phone numbers, since that is the first and most common thing that we're going to look at. We're not going to look at social security numbers or credit card numbers. I'm not going to have you share credit card numbers with each other just to practice. Just send them directly to me, and just to make sure that I can give you an accurate grade. Give me the password or the PIN number to those credit cards, so that I can confirm with you that you're doing it right. Tips included. Anyway, no. Don't send me your credit card numbers. Don't send me your social security number. Don't even send me your Kent State ID number. I don't want it. I don't ask for I don't want my wife's passwords to anything, because I don't want to be responsible for that kind of stuff. I barely remember my own. Anyway, so the first video in here is phone numbers, and she's going to give a really interesting description of the difference between cardinal numbers and numbers used to identify ordinal numbers, I believe. It's kind of the difference between, if you're counting, we do hands back, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now's where you start to understand, why did they make such a point in ASL 1 of, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what? They're both the same. Technically they are, and most people use them interchangeably. There's a subtle difference where, when you're counting, it tends to be palm back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So most numbers aren't here, but 1 to 5, palm back towards you. Now, when we're doing numbers and I'm giving a number, it's going to be palm out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So she'll give a good explanation in this video. It's clear. I would do the same thing that she's going to do, and it's already recorded, and this way you can watch it over and over again. So general advice and how to group the numbers. Area code is 3 numbers. The prefix is 3 numbers, and the last 4 digits, the line number, is 4 digits. So she's going to give advice on how to group them. And here's the best way of looking at it. If it's 3 digits, it's first number by itself, and then the second 2 treated as a pair. If it's 4, it's 2 pairs, live long and prosper. Right? So it's 2 pairs or 4 individual numbers. But it will never be like a pair and 2 individual. It will never be, it's 2 pairs, or you'll see. I mean, sometimes it could be, suppose it could be pair 2 individuals or 2 individuals in a pair, but that gets really complicated and it would be a rare occurrence. So in general, it's either 2 pairs or it's 4 individual numbers. Single, pair, or 3 individual numbers. That's really all you need to know about the advice. But watch her and she'll explain it in ASL and it will help you with your ASL. So area codes. Give a couple of examples of how you do it. And the prefix, we'll break it down again, 3-digit numbers and some different. They space it out in the book and in these videos so that it makes it very clear. But if you take a look, the big thing to look for is, are there any repeated numbers? Because that may influence how you sign it. 510 or 510, right? Remember, we've got the individual number and then the pair or the 2 separate ones. So it could be 510, 10, or 510. When in doubt, do individual numbers, 510, but put a pause at the end of the 3. 510 is the area code, 925, or 925, 925, 925. There's 3 different ways of signing 25. Sometimes teachers don't go over all 3 because it's just confusing, but you can see 25 is the simplest. It's kind of like the Ohio 19, 18, 17, that little really lazy, just rub your finger together. 25, 25, just repeating 25, the basic one, 25. All right, so 925 or 925. 415, notice for 15, the hand goes back to palm back. So for 15, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you're going to do that. You're going to turn palm back. So it's only 1 to 5 that goes palm forward. Or 415. So for some people, it'd be easier to do 415 because you don't have to turn the palm back. Too much information. 408, remember, you need the 08. 408, 408, 408. 707, 707, and 559. You don't want to do 55, 9. 559. 55, 9, no. 559. 559 or 559. It's all the same rule, and it's just a matter of getting used to. You should by now be able to do simple sets of numbers like that. If you can't, if you're like 510 or 707, just practice these. 707, 707, 707. Bum, 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 bum. Get to the point where you don't have to think about it, or you could be saying something else at the same time. 559, 559, 559, 559. So you could be talking about the area code. So I'm going to give you the area code. Okay. Add any area codes that matter to you to this list. Because you're not going to, if you don't use 510, don't worry about 510. What are the ones in this area? What are the ones where you live? What are the ones in a city you'd rather be living in? So start to figure out those, or if like your significant others at a different university and you call them all the time and that's their number, just practice those. Practice the things that are useful in your life. Don't practice ones just because I say to do it. Well, trust me, don't trust anybody else. They're not going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. So practice what I tell you. Don't practice what other people tell you. Now the prefix, the 3-digit number that is right between the area code and the line number. So normally 235. She will give exactly that same explanation of one and then either a pair or two singles. The next one she'll show is what happens if the first 2 digits are the same. And again, like I said, you would either do 225, or 225. I tend to go with the default, probably being an interpreter, where I go 225, 3104. I tend to like to do separate. People in conversation will do, well, the next one we'll see, 3104. We're doing it in pairs. So that's all there is about, it's really what if the first 2 digits are the same? Then you're like, well, will they be paired up? No. Separate. Then we get into the line number. Easy enough if the 4 digits are different. We did the 225, 3104, where the 2 in the prefix were the same. So I left it up in there. 235, what? 3100. Uh-oh. Or 3100. I would say that 00 is best. 3100. Rather than slide it like we do with finger spelling. What if the middle 2 digits are the same? So there's a video where she explains it. But again, boom, either do it in pairs or do it as 4 separate numbers. Don't do 3, 11, 4. That's going to be way confusing, and people are going to be like, wait, something's wrong here. Okay. It'd be like if you gave a social security number but put the dashes in the wrong places. Credit card numbers, if you did 6 digits, then 2 digits, then people would be like, wait, something's wrong, because we have to do them in those groupings. So again, and then all 4 digits separately. What happens if they're all 3 are the same? Again, either break it up into pairs or for individuals. Don't sorry, I always get nervous when a phone call comes from my mom's area code. Never know if it's an emergency or not. We'll check the message in just a second. Okay, sorry. So phone numbers. Practice on your own. Do the numbers that are important in your life to make sure you've got them down. I just heard a story about there was a girl this winter who went sledding with some friends on a hill that's in her town prohibited. It's in Ohio, in Northeast Ohio. They're not allowed to sled there. She went ahead. She and her friends went ahead and did it, and she got into an accident, and she's paralyzed now from, I believe, the neck down. Oh no, from the waist down. But she couldn't talk. Her head was in a neck brace and all that stuff. So she finger spelled because she'd taken ASL classes, so she was able to communicate. Horrible story, dangerous thing for her to be doing, but she was able to sign clearly. So get numbers if you're in a position where you need to sign in an emergency, or someone else gets hurt and they're deaf and you can help out. These are the kinds of things. Letters and numbers are going to be the backbone of communication. So it sucks, but practice them. Just be ready with them for whatever. Anyway, so again, add the area code. Start working with larger numbers. What's your work phone number? What's the number to call you? What's your cell phone number? Add in the area code. Don't just give the 7-digit number. We mostly do now that cell phones are national. But she's going to give an example in context about the number from her school, where she says where she goes. I think she teaches there. So anyway, then a couple more examples of context. They're going to sign and they're going to use a number in context. Just watch it. One of the hard things is to get used to is, how do you know when something is being fingerspelled and something is a number being signed? So those are important things to get used to. There are little social cues, mostly in context, but you don't want to see someone fingerspell something and be like, was that fingerspelling or was that numbers? And then you're stuck on that decision as they are moving on and moving away. It's another thing too is if you're finger spelling something or giving a number and the other person goes, "What happened?" You want to know. Oh, wait, let me clarify that. We were talking last year when we were able to be with people in the same room about movies people had seen, and someone said DFD7. They'd seen the movie DFD7. I was like, DFD7, defend danger, defend the DFD7. Anybody with me? Knowing these how we sign phone numbers would have been better to do 1917. It just was so good. I was like, DFD7. I stopped paying attention to what they were saying. Like in my head, I'm going, what the is DFD7? 1917. But again, it wasn't clear that it was a number that was coming up. So I was looking at a movie title, DFD7. No idea. So anyway, context clues are important. The next couple videos are looking at special phone numbers, and then they explain what they do. Hopefully everybody knows about it. 411, 511, 611, and 911. So by knowing what those all are for, hopefully watching what they sign, any new vocab that comes in should be clear. And I'm not going to put down a gloss or a translation of it. You can do it yourself. Any signs that you don't know should be made clear by the context. Then exercises. This would be the homework in the book. Write down the phone number or phone numbers that they mention, and I will include the answers in here. Oh, I need to make a copy of that one. Haha. Okay. And again, here are. Oh, I should include that up at the front. The vocab from 8.6 is on here and is in the PowerPoint. So take a look at those, and I will include a PowerPoint with the vocab review separately so that the GIFs don't slow down this one. All right. Well, that is it for 8.6. Hope you enjoyed it. We are almost at the halfway point for this one. This one has 14. So I will do 8.7, and then I will put a quiz out for the halfway point for Unit 8. So that's it. See you in office hours or class, or never see you whatsoever. So we're halfway through. We're just about halfway through Unit 8.